Hey, so this is another video where I wanted to show some more kind of trend intensity formula watch lists and cool ways to kind of go about sorting watch lists, and a cool trick I found, um, which is called multi-column sorting, which if you haven't heard about or kind of known about in TC2000, I think it's a pretty powerful tool, and you can get some interesting results from it. Um, so if somebody, by the way, random is watching this, I forgot to mention in the last video. This is mainly through um, Kulamagi's methodology for his breakout methodology, and also trend intensity from Kulamagi and Stockby, who used these types of scans to find momentum names. And so just to get into it here, so I got my chart here, got my daily on the right and my hourly on the left here, and I have this watch list here, and this watch list is using a scan leader scan, and this is just seeing 5-day gainers, 20-day gainers, 1-month gainers, 3-month gainers, and just finding the highest ranking kind of names moving up. And so that's what is scanning here, and you can see on the bottom we're getting about 752 names here. And then I have my watch list, and you can see first thing is you have these numbers on the right. This is the trend intensity formula in different time frames. So you have blue, yellow, green, and purple, and so this is just trend intensity in the 30-minute chart, on the daily, on the weekly, and on the monthly. And if you sort by this trend intensity in different time frames, you can start to see, as far as how the trend intensity formula goes, what is the most intense mover in the market. So I think this is pretty powerful in itself. For example, I'm on the weekly. I like to use the weekly trend intensity and the daily. I like to use all of them, but the weekly trend intensity, for example, if you click on the top name here, you can see Indo is one of the top names, and a lot of people probably heard about or been following this name because of its crazy move, and it has the highest trend intensity in the market, and so that's something good to know in itself. So you can see, if we go to the monthly, for example, this is a higher time frame trend intensity. So if you look at, for example, this oil and gas name, OAS, you can see how there's very high trend intensity on a very high time frame chart. If I go to the monthly chart, you can see that, right? All the way down to the 30-minute, and you can see the 30-minute here. And for example, in the 30-minute, this is a low time frame trend intensity. So you could see here, the number one name pick is it has a really high trend intensity on the hourly chart here. You can see here, how high that's moving up there. So that's the trend intensity formula. I have a couple lights here. I call them lights. So just to kind of go through that, this is this green light just means high. This means that it's making a new high in the daily candle from its last high. And then I have another one here, which is less than high, which basically this purple one means that the candle is closing lower than its previous high. So if I click on this, for example, you can see how it's closing below its previous high there. Then I have a gap, which is just it's gapped up today. And then I have the low, less than low, which means it's closing lower than the last low. So there's that one. And then I have the industry here. So what I wanted to talk about, this multi-column sorting, is that you can basically what you can do is, for example, if you wanted to sort first from the trend intensity, And you know, for example, you can see how Indo is number one in the trend intensity on the weekly chart, but and then you can cascade down and see all the high trend intensity names here. But another cool thing is you can say, well, I want to see the high intensity names that have also gapped up today. So if you click on this gap here, now you can see how all of the white lights have appeared here. But also you can notice how the trend intensity formula is cascading down in numbers because it's kept the order of the trend intensity on the chart, on the watch list, but it's filtered it by just showing the gappers that have high trend intensity. So you can see Indo is highest trend intensity that's also gapped up. As another example, you could say, I want to see the highest trend intensity on the daily, but I also want to see something that closed lower, right? So here, now we've filtered the high trend intensity on the daily, but some of these names have actually closed lower, and you can see, so if you click on the top name, this is the highest trend intensity name that actually closed lower than the previous low. So that's telling you something. And what's also telling you something is how maybe little of a, close lower we have in these names. It's not many names closing lower compared to how many are not closing lower. So that tells you, this was a strong day, and, it was. So that's a really cool way to sort multiple columns. And one way that I've really found interesting, or two ways that I'll kind of show is, for example, I want to see highest trend intensity names that have closed lower than the high. So now we've sorted, and the top names are the highest trend intensity that we can find that have actually closed lower than the previous high. So let's just go through this list and see. Okay, AMR, SRTS, okay. So you can see how these names are looking somewhat interesting. And you can also consider that this is a high trend intensity name that has closed lower. And you can also see a couple other signals at the same time. For example, you can see that this tried to make a new high. You can also see that from the chart though. As you're scrolling down, you can see, oh, this one actually, I already know that this one closed lower, right? And this one, and this one, right? So that's pretty cool, and it's pretty quick to see. The second way I found that's pretty cool to sort this is pretty much the same, but going for a really low time frame trend intensity, so the 30-minute trend intensity, and then saying what's closed lower than the previous high. So this shows me, for example, VNet, and you can see on the left here on the hourly chart, you're getting a pretty interesting pattern because it's showing you the highest trend intensity on the 30-minute chart in the market, but it's closed lower than the previous high of the day. So that's an interesting combination. And so this one actually gapped up, the daily chart hitting this moving average. And the hourly chart looks like this. And so that's an interesting kind of pattern there. So there's a lot of different ways to see this, and you can even see the industries. For example, I just sorted from highest trend intensity on the weekly, closing lower, and I can see that two shipping and ports names right here close lower with a high trend intensity. So that's interesting to kind of see and think about. Are these names weak? Who knows? So that's pretty cool, and I just wanted to share that trick for multi-column sorting. So if anybody wants to play around with that, I think that's super cool, and you can really quickly, if you practice it a bit, you can really quickly just sort this stuff and have relevant names jump to the top of your list. So that's it, and hope you guys enjoyed. See you later.